Hi there, my name is Marley and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming the intro to a new reading vlog. I'm going to be reading 2 Halloween classics because it is October and I'm really trying to get into like the spooky season. Me and my boyfriend have been watching like a scary movie or a scary TV show every night, and this month I've really been wanting to read mostly like thriller horror books. So I just thought I would film a vlog of reading, first of all, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which obviously Frankenstein is like an iconic figure for Halloween. And I really don't know that much about the story other than what everyone knows. So yeah, as far as I know, this is about a doctor named Frankenstein who creates this monster that I guess just like wreaks havoc on a town. I don't know, but hopefully I will like it. Then obviously I want to read Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is about a vampire named Count Dracula, and I think about a number of his victims. I don't really know, but yeah, I am hopeful that I will enjoy these. I'm a little nervous because I'm not big on classics or like the old-timey writing style that they have, as these did get published in the 1800s, I think, for both of them. 1831 for Frankenstein and then 1897 for Dracula. So I'm a little nervous, but we'll see how I feel about them. This might be a spoiler vlog because like these are such old books. I feel like it's fine to include spoilers, but I'll just kind of see how it goes. Yeah, so let's jump into the vlog. Hey there, so I am about to change my sensor and I just thought I would film it for the vlog in case anyone was interested in this. If you guys don't know, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes earlier in the year, and so I have to wear a continuous glucose monitor, which is what this is. It's a Freestyle Libre 2 sensor, and basically it monitors my blood sugars continuously, as with type 1 diabetes you have to manage your blood sugars since your pancreas does not work to do it for you. So yeah, I have to change this every 2 weeks, so let's change it. I'm actually gonna keep this one on for another couple hours before it expires, but let's put on the new one to prepare on the other arm. So let's open this up. As you guys also saw, I also started reading Frankenstein. It's rough. It is pretty rough so far with the classical writing that I was afraid of. Yeah, it's, I'm like falling asleep. So this is what comes in the box along with the instructions and some alcohol swabs. So that's what we're gonna do first. Oh, they're ripped. We are going to clean the area with the alcohol swabs. This always happens. One of them is dry. That's really annoying. Okay, this one isn't. So we'll clean the back of the arm, which is where you are supposed to put it. But yeah, the first part of Frankenstein is a whole bunch of letters of this guy writing to his sister, and it's pretty boring so far, as I said. But now I think it's getting into the actual chapters of the actual Frankenstein story, so hopefully it'll be getting better now. So next you want to take your sensor pack and open it up. There we go. And then we have our applicator that looks like this. So open this up. All right, so then you want to match up this hole here, or that line, with this line here. And then put it in. And then also you want this to make sure it's dried. And then we have the needle in here. I don't know if you can tell, but the needle is now in there. And I will insert this into my arm, the back of the arm where it is fatty. I'm never sure where to put it exactly. Let's go with there, put my arm down, and then I'm gonna shove it in. And then hold it for like 30 seconds. But yeah, the classical writing is really getting to me right now. I'm also feeling like I might have read this book already, but I don't know if it's just me thinking about like the other classics I've read, like Wuthering Heights and Dorian Gray, and just how it has similar language, or if I maybe attempted to read this before. I don't know. It just seems kind of familiar. Okay. So now it's on. This is all garbage now. So we want to make sure that it's sticking around the edges. So then you may notice there is like a sticker around on this side. I put this on to make sure it doesn't fall off because there normally is some issues with it sticking. So I'm gonna use one of these little patches and make sure it doesn't come off. So it looks like this. It's a little sticker, but first we take off this back part, put it on like that, and then we take off the white things. And then finally we take off the blue outer strips, and then make sure it's staying. And here is my fresh new sensor. I'll be back when it's time to take this one off. Hey guys, I'm back, and guess what? It's bleeding. That's never happened before for me. So don't know how that's gonna go. Now I'm gonna take off my old sensor. Is a sticker around it that I have to get off first. And this is why I shave my arms now. And here's the old one. The life of a diabetic. It's so fun. So I'm nearly 50 pages into Frankenstein. It's definitely a lot better than the like intro letters that we got. And it was especially interesting when Victor Frankenstein was working on creating life, creating the monster. So I liked reading that. It just is sometimes hard to understand what's happening because of the old-timey language. Like I was very confused. I thought this one woman was his wife, but it's actually his cousin. Kind of confused on that, but he described the monster as having yellow skin, which is sort of interesting because I always pictured him having green. He describes his monster as like beautiful at first, and then like he gets scared of him and like abandons him. So I guess it's kind of representative of like a parent creating life and then like abandoning them. I guess that's like the point of the book. So now he's just left his monster. I don't know where he is, but I'm hoping he comes back into it because that was the part that I was more interested in, was when he was like creating the monster. So let's go. Let's bring him back. Vlog update. So I have been reading Frankenstein and I'm almost at 100 pages now, and it is getting very, very good. Like I can't stop reading. So that was a little unexpected, but a happy surprise. Basically what's happened is that Victor Frankenstein's younger brother got murdered, and he immediately assumes that it is his creature that he created, even though this other girl gets blamed for it and then gets like condemned and like executed for it. And so he's like super pissed. He's like, I created something that has like killed people, and he like thinks he's a monster, but also thinks that like his creature is the real monster. And then finally the creature comes back into the picture. Victor is like super angry with him. The creature is like, hey, just hear me out. He like can speak super well, which I was surprised about, but he's like, let me tell you my story, like let me explain. And so now the last few chapters have all been the creature telling his story from when he left Victor at the beginning and kind of like leading up to now, present day. And like
I love this man, this creature.
Like, it just makes you feel so bad for him because he was abandoned when he was first born and then just had to learn everything on his own, like about the world. And it's super interesting hearing how he learned about everything, like about food and shelter and all of the basic human needs. And then he has been watching this family interact and learning how to speak from them and how to read from them, but like from afar, like from the woods. He's been like watching them. You just feel so bad for him because he's realized that he doesn't look like everyone else, that he is like a freak and that they will be afraid of him. Like, it's so sad. I guess it's just really, like, the meaning of this really is, like, if someone is, like, abandoned and not brought up well, then they might become a monster. But it's, like, it's really about how you treat people that affects how they're going to behave. So I think if Victor keeps betraying the creature and keeps, like, abandoning him and treating him bad, like, then I think the creature is going to lash out. But if Victor is nice to the creature, then I think he would be nice. Like, he's a kind-hearted thing naturally. So I think it's about how people are born good and then, like, get turned evil. I feel like there is a lot of, like, messages in this that at this point are not unique anymore, but, like, for this time they are. And I see how this, like, has inspired a lot of stories, probably a lot of villain origin stories, because I feel like most villain origin stories are about the villains being mistreated and then they become evil. It's kind of like how people who are bullies are the ones getting bullied as well. Like, you know what I mean? Anyways, it's just been way more interesting since the creature has been talking about his life. We stan the creature and we hate Victor Frankenstein. That's why it's called Frankenstein. He is the true villain. But yeah, I think I have like 60 or 70 pages left. So I will check back in, I guess, when I finished it. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable now. Hello, it is the next morning. I finished Frankenstein last night. Probably should have done an update at that time, but I was just too tired. So I know in the last update I talked about, like, stanning the monster, and, like, I want to kind of take that back as, like, he does kill people. And I just want to retract that statement, but a lot of that sentiment is still true, that, like, you just feel for him, right? So basically the monster is, like, taking revenge on Frankenstein because he asks Victor to create a partner for him, a female version of him, so that he can not be lonely all the time. And at first Victor is going to do it, but then he's like, no, I'm not going to, because what if they just, like, together wreak havoc instead of going off and living happily? So he decides not to do it. So then it is all about the monster, like, taking revenge on Victor and killing other people in his life, his other loved ones, including Elizabeth, who is his cousin, but he does marry her. So that's why I was confused about, like, who she was, because she literally is his cousin and his love interest, which I guess it was okay during this time period. It's just obviously weird to read that now. Then eventually Victor wants to take revenge on the creature, and he is hunting him down as well until he eventually dies. I think before he can kill the creature, and then basically the creature kills himself because he has no reason to live. Like, his reason to live was to, like, haunt his creator. So that's basically the story. I know this had spoilers, so I would have put a warning hopefully somewhere about that. But I think this was a really great book. As I already said in my last update, I think I would give it 4 stars, which I really did not expect. But anytime the creature was on page, like, it was just so interesting. And it did still get boring whenever it was just focused on Victor, because he is a very, like, whiny man, and I just didn't like hearing from him, which is the point. I might have already said this, but this just really is, like, the blueprints of so many future stories and, like, tropes when it comes to villains. Victor and his creature's relationship is just so, like, metaphorical for so many different things, whether it's, like, a parent-child relationship, God and people's relationship. There's just a lot of different ways you can, like, interpret it and stuff like that, and so I really like that. So that is good. And obviously next I want to read Dracula, but I did start a different book last night just because I needed, like, a break between classics, like, just to mix it up so I'm not getting too, like, bored of that, like, old language. I'm reading Ace of Spades, but I will be back when I want to read Dracula. I reached 100 pages into Dracula. and it's been tough. It has been a tough time getting through this. This is really like not having a good effect on my reading this month. I feel like it's just going so slow because 100 pages is about a third of the way. Yeah, it has those same issues that Frankenstein did at times, with it just being boring and the old-timey language. I'm gonna say that a million times this video and stuff like that. So it's just going very slow. Plus it's 100 pages longer than Frankenstein, so that sucks. But yeah, so basically we're following this guy, Jonathan Harker, at the beginning, and he goes to Count Dracula's mansion at the beginning for work or something, and then pretty soon he figures out that he is being held captive there. He kind of figures that something is going on because Dracula is the only one in the house. There isn't any servants or anything like that. Dracula himself really surprised me. I just picture him being like, I guess, this attractive looking guy and very mysterious and stuff like that, but he's actually described as kind of like old looking and kind of like eccentric, like having a lot of personality, I guess, where I didn't picture him to be like that. I pictured him to be more like stoic and like serious, so that was weird. I figure that like maybe when he drinks more blood is when he looks younger and better looking, but we haven't really figured that out yet. Jonathan's having a hell of a time there, and then we switch to hearing from his fiance Mina's point of view. It's all told in letters, like basically the whole thing is like letters and diary entries, kind of similar to Frankenstein, and she is like wondering where Jonathan is. He stopped answering her, all this stuff. I think we're led to believe he might have died, and then he pops back up. He's somewhere and he's like very ill, raving about these crazy things that have happened to him, and so Mina goes to him and he's like, I don't want to ever like think about what happened to me. I want to forget it, blah blah blah. Whereas like as a reader you're like, okay, I wish you would remember and acknowledge it. And then there's this other weird plot line of Mina's friend Lucy. She seems to be getting attacked by a vampire. Like she keeps waking up in the night and then she is being so like weak and pale and all this stuff, and she has 2 holes in her neck. So I guess a vampire is drinking her blood in the night. Now whether this is a different vampire or if this is also Dracula, I don't know. It's kind of different than I pictured. Like there's quite a few things going on, and I am, you know, intrigued to see where this is gonna go with all of our little characters, but like it's just such a slow process, and I'm like, we haven't seen Dracula in a while now, and I just want to like get back to that. Yeah, I don't know, it's just like not really my favorite. I think I'm gonna like Frankenstein better, but we still have quite a bit to go, and obviously this is gonna have spoilers again in case you didn't notice. Book haul. I got Aristotle and Dante. I always forget this. Dive into the waters of the world. What did you get?
I got Children of Dune. You can't even see.
Ooh. So I have just read another section of Dracula, another 100 pages. This section was pretty intense. Things are really going down right now, and I have 100 pages left. There definitely is still slow moments in this, like where I'm just wanting things to pick up the pace. Like it's definitely getting dragged out, but the story is coming along now for sure. So basically Lucy, as I said, is getting drained of blood basically every night. She keeps waking up very like sickly and pale and weak, and she always has the little holes in her neck that are not healing. So there's this group of men that are like taking care of her, like doctors, and they don't know what's wrong, and they keep giving her like blood transfusions of like their own blood to like keep her going. This goes on for like months. Like it got to be very repetitive, this part of the book, because it was just like her clearly getting like drained of blood every night, and they would fix her, and then it'd be the same each night. And then one of the doctors seemed to know a little bit of info, because then he starts putting garlic on her to protect her in the night. So clearly this man kind of like knew a little bit about vampires and like was kind of catching on to what was happening. But eventually Lucy does all of a sudden have those bite marks healed in her neck. It seems she is, you know, in the process of turning into a vampire, and this guy knows what's up, so he kind of like fakes her funeral and everything, and then he's like, we need to kill her, like for real. Anyways, it's kind of hard to explain the whole thing, but basically he gets a little group of men to all watch the tomb where Lucy is buried and see that she actually is still alive. She is the undead and is not herself. She's under some sort of spell by, you know, another vampire, and they managed to kill her, which was very interesting. This was a very exciting part to read about, because just seeing her be a vampire and them killing her by like, I think cutting off her head, staking her. I think they even like put garlic in her like dead body to make sure she stayed dead. It's really cool seeing all those typical vampire tropes, I guess, that sometimes are in current day stories, sometimes not, but this has all of them. Like it has the garlic, the crucifix, the fact that they have to sleep on like hollowed ground or whatever, that they are not visible in mirrors, like all those things that you know about vampires like are in this. So now basically all the main characters know that vampires are real. We see Mina and Jonathan. So they also, I don't know if I said, they talk with that doctor and find out that Jonathan's delusions that he had were real as well. So they're all like this little team that's like, we now are gonna take down Count Dracula, because they figured out that it was him that was doing that to Lucy, because he had these plans to come to London, which Jonathan knew about because he was captured there and like saw his plans, and then he saw Count Dracula looking younger, but he knew it was him. So they know that it's Dracula that has come to England and is doing this. So now we have our little team to avenge Lucy and to kill Count Dracula. And it was pretty interesting. The part I just read was like them getting all their information that they have together and just going through everything they know about him, and again listing all those typical vampire things, like all the rules, like all of his powers that he has, but then all of his weaknesses. So all of his powers are like some of the things that were in the Vampire Diaries books, like how he can turn into animals and he can control the weather, which is in the Vampire Diaries books, but they didn't include that in the show, and just things like that. So it's pretty interesting, but again, I'm like, there's still 100 pages left. I feel like, again, it's interesting stuff that's happening, but it's just getting dragged out a lot and just very like wordy. But I am liking it. In terms of rating prediction, maybe it would be like a 3-star, because I like it, but I'm also bored at times. But yeah, so it's going pretty good. So far, I would recommend reading both of these horror books, even though I'm like totally spoiling them in this video. Time to end the vlog. I wanted to show you guys a couple other things I got on the weekend when shopping. From the dollar store, I just got this cute little like jack-o'-lantern thing that I think is supposed to hold candles, but I'm just gonna use as decoration. And then I also got a Frankenstein one, because hello, now I know him, now we stan him, so I'm definitely more into getting like Frankenstein decorations now that I know about the Frankenstein creature. And I did also just finish Dracula now as well. I read the last chunk of it. It's kind of similar to the previous 2 chunks, where there were some definite rough moments where I'm like, let's go, let's get to the action. It's so wordy. It's just like, let's get to it. But there was also some like good moments in it as well. Obviously, what ends up happening is that Mina ends up getting bitten by Dracula, so the only other female character. So she is like slowly turning. It's kind of interesting in this that like the turning process seems to be a very slow process, and you just have to get bitten by a vampire, whereas now a lot of times you have to be fed their blood as well. Actually, maybe they need to be fed blood too. Honestly, there's a few things that were not super clear just due to like the language and probably just me being dumb. So I'm actually not sure if he fed them his blood or if he just bit them. But yeah, so then Mina's going through this process of turning into a vampire, which I was really sad about because Mina's like my favorite character. But anyways, then they're like hunting down Dracula, and this is the part that was kind of boring because it's just them like planning and tracking him, and I'm like, I don't care. They eventually do track him down and they kill his little minions that he had. I don't know if I mentioned, he has like 3 little female vampires that live with him, and so they kill them, and then they manage to kill Dracula, and he just puffs into like dust, and then that actually saves Mina from transitioning. It like stops her transition, I guess, because he was the one that was turning her. So was happy to see that there was a little happy ending there. The ending was like a little bit lackluster just because like they just stab him and it's pretty easy once they reach him. So I wouldn't have minded like a bit more like fighting with him or something at the end, but at the same time I was also like pretty done with this book. Like I really just wanted to finish it because I do just feel like the story gets dragged out a lot. I also think that the like messages and metaphors in this book aren't maybe as clear as the Frankenstein one, or like there's more to it. I was quickly looking up on Wikipedia the different metaphors, and I still do really find them interesting. Like I know it definitely has to do with sexuality, as like the vampires are kind of described to be like seducing the other people and like drinking their blood. It's like pretty sexual. But then it can also represent like disease, I was reading, like sexually transmitted diseases, or just like the fears that they had of diseases back in the day. I guess we still have that today. And then also it can represent like race, like vampires being like a different race that's coming in and like taking over. There's like a bunch of different ways to interpret it, so I definitely do think that that is interesting as well. I also want to mention this one is definitely a lot more scary. This is definitely more horror and gothic than Frankenstein, just because Dracula really was evil, and as I said, little Frankie was actually like a good person, but then he got turned evil, whereas Dracula is more so just described as like being evil and like soulless. Once you become a vampire, you become like soulless basically. This was pretty good. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars though. I definitely enjoyed Frankenstein more, but I'm really glad that I read both of these books finally. I feel like it's a definite must. Like you really should read these books just for the fact that they are so iconic, and to fully like understand the story of Frankenstein and Dracula and like how it's been so influential in future stories. That's something I've really taken away from this. It's really cool how they all have, you know, a lot of metaphors within them as well. So that's gonna end this reading classic horror vlog. Hope you guys liked it. I hope you didn't hate that I made it a spoiler vlog, but it is what it is. So hope you guys have a great Halloween, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.